Hi friends, let's talk about some activities for vocal improvisation. This is for you if you want to start exploring vocal improvisation with students and you are looking for some really concrete activities to try. This is also for you if vocal improvisation feels maybe a little bit new, maybe a little bit intimidating, and you are looking for some really solid places to get started. We'll start with some open-ended, free improvisation activities, and then we will work our way into using a specific tone set for improvisation in the next video. So here we go. Let's start with Cuckoo, Where Are You? This is a super simple song and it has a really fun game that goes with it. And the song goes like this. I hear a cuckoo, cuckoo, where are you? So in this game, one person is the guesser and they have their eyes closed and their face is against the wall. And another student is the secret singer. So everybody sings, I hear a cuckoo, and then that one person, that one secret singer sings, cuckoo, where are you? And after that one secret singer has sung that part, then the guesser is going to turn around and they guess whose voice they heard. So a very simple, very fun voice identification game. And for this song, we can actually use improvisation to introduce the song. So let's make up a story about how we are looking for this bird. And along the way, students can come up with their own things that they want to contribute to our story. So it could sound something like, one day I was walking through the woods and it was such a beautiful day. And all of a sudden, I hear a cuckoo, cuckoo, where are you? Well, I jumped up and I decided I had to find that bird. So I went walking through the woods. And then all of a sudden there was a clearing and you'll never guess what I saw. And students are going to respond with what I saw in the clearing in the woods. And maybe I saw a McDonald's, and maybe I saw a playground, and maybe I saw a house. Whatever it is that students say, you're right, it was a house in the woods. So I decided that I would walk up to it. But just as I was walking up to the house, I hear a cuckoo, cuckoo, where are you? So that's how I knew I was close to the bird. So I went up to the house and I knocked on the door. And you'll never guess who answered. And who answered? Students might say, you know, their classroom teacher. Maybe it was the principal. Maybe it was someone's dog answered the door. Maybe it was someone's mom, whatever it is that students say. You're right. Campbell's mom answered the door. And she said, hey, Miss Victoria, you look hungry. Do you want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? And I said, yes, I do. Okay, so you get the idea. This can go any million number of directions. After a while, after we've done this for a good little bit and students have some practice filling in the rest of the story. And by the way, in this story, goodness gracious, we can go we've already met someone's mom and she gave us a peanut butter sandwich. Well, now we're going to need to maybe put it in our backpack, and maybe we remembered that we had something else in our backpack that was going to be really important for this journey to find the cuckoo bird. What was it? You know, students can suggest all of those things. And then, you know, maybe we are going to have to figure out how to travel through the woods to find that bird. Or maybe we make it out of the woods and then we get on a car. Or maybe we take an airplane to look for the bird. Or maybe we decide that we need to be on a jet ski. Okay, so you see how many different shapes this story can take when we talk about where we are going to search for this bird and what we find along the way and who is traveling with us and what we are bringing and all of this other stuff. So this is a story that could take, really and truly, this could take the whole entire class. Students love this activity. So you'll notice that in this first version, students are just giving me an idea and I kind of just sing it with whatever they are suggesting. After a while though, I'm going to ask students to sing their response back to me. So instead of them saying that we needed to find a cheeseburger because we were really hungry, I'm going to ask them, now could you tell me in your singing voice? And they might say, we needed to find a cheeseburger because we were hungry, or whatever melody they choose. So in this activity, any response that students give us in their singing voice is great. They do not need to give us anything with a specific set of pitches. You'll notice that we don't need to end on tonic, just whatever they give us, as long as they are singing, as long as they have a melodic output, that is a great thing for this activity. Something else to note here is that through the whole activity, the teacher is modeling what vocal improvisation sounds like, and that is super duper important. So we are setting the model for what the melodies might be like. That way students have an example to follow when it's time for them to give their own vocal response. Open-ended improvisation is not just for lower elementary students. We can do it with upper elementary as well. With older students, I find that they are a little bit more comfortable with vocal improvisation if there is something else going on musically, like if there's some sort of recording in the background. And this is for more social reasons than musical reasons, although it is also very helpful musically as well. It's just that vocal improvisation can feel like a pretty big risk for upper elementary students. And so having something else going on, like a musical foundation, that track in the background can be really helpful for this age group. There are pop songs that I use for this in my personal classroom, but for our purposes here on YouTube, let's just use a loop from Soundtrap. There is nothing particularly special about this loop. I'm just looking for something with kind of elongated chord changes. I'm looking for something in a comfortable tempo, and then something that we would consider to be in an appropriate key for vocal improvisation. So right at the beginning, I might ask you just to be my echo. So I might sing, you echo. And then after a while of that, I might ask you to choose if you want to echo me or make up your own noodling melody. So I might say, something. And then eventually everyone improvises a response. So I might say, ba, da, da, ba, and you sing something different. Great. So you get the idea. The trajectory of this activity is echoing. Then you choose if you are going to echo or improvise, and then everybody improvises. This is all with a kind of question and answer back and forth kind of 8-beat phrase situation. Now, the point of this is open-ended vocal improvisation. For this activity, any response that students give in their singing voice is absolutely an appropriate musical response. That said, sometimes with upper elementary, they can benefit from having a couple scaffolds up to open-ended improvisation. Sometimes, especially with upper elementary, they benefit from having just a few choices that expand more. So if we were to back up and add some more parameters around this, we might start with just echoing and then echoing 2 pitches. Then I can ask you to mix up those 2 pitches, and then you create your own melody. So let's zoom through that really quickly just for a demonstration. So starting out, I might sing something like just 1 pitch. Ba, 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 da, ba. You can echo. And then after a while, I'll add a 2nd pitch. Ba, 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 do, da, da, do. Your turn. Great. And then after a while, I will tell students that they can continue to echo me if they want, or they can make their own melody with this high sound and this low sound. So you make your own melody by mixing up the high sound and the low sound. You can do them in any order that you want. So I might sing. Ba, ba, ba. And you mix up those sounds. Still using that same high sound, that same low sound. Ba, 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 ba. Mix it up. And then eventually you can sing any melody that you want, as long as you're in your singing voice. Make it up, anything. Okay, so in that activity, you'll hear that the two pitches that we were using to scaffold were do and sol. But from a curricular standpoint, I don't need students to label those pitches as do and so. We are using them more like musical placeholders so that we can practice making an improvisation choice with two pitches before we move on to completely open-ended improvisation. And this is something that we can do as a part of our regular warm-up routine. So if students are entering the room with pop music playing, then this can be a pretty seamless part that we kind of tack on to the end of our entrance procedure. Or we can also add it to any other high concentration activity, like any other core musical activity that we are using with a pop song later in the lesson. Okay, the last activity, question and answer. In my opinion, this is the simplest vocal improvisation activity, and it's also the easiest to implement. When we are improvising, we are in a musical conversation. So I give something to you, you give me something different back that's still kind of tonally related, but it's not a carbon copy. And that is exactly like what happens when we are in an actual back and forth conversation. So let's have a musical conversation, but this time we are going to sing our answers. This is something else that can happen very easily at the beginning of class. So I might say, hello, second grade, and students would say, hello, Miss Victoria. And I might say, how are you today? And they will give me their answers. What are you going to do after school today? And that's when the parameters really open up. Responses open up and we get a lot of different musical responses. Or, what do you like to do on Saturday? And students give us their answers back. And this can happen truly at any grade level. This can happen in kindergarten. It can happen all the way through 5th grade. There will be times in our question and answer response when we want students to narrow in their pitches and use our target tone set. So for the 2nd grade example, at some point I might ask those students to only respond with these 3 pitches, and they can use them in any order that they want, but these are the 3 sounds that we will use. Today, we have looked at some activities for vocal improvisation, and with all of these, our parameters have been pretty open-ended. For these specific activities here, any improvised musical output, any musical response that students give in their singing voice is great. The range of correct answers for these activities is very broad on purpose. But for our purposes here, any response that students give in their singing voice is absolutely an appropriate response. In the next video, we are going to think about some ways that we can start narrowing in our tone set so that we can have a specific curricular focus if we want to. Until then, have fun with these activities. Thanks for watching.